Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to a PhotoJoseph Live. This is a very specific show. We're gonna make this a little bit on the shorter side. I just wanted to go through the very recent announcements of what is new in the upcoming LUMIX updates for the entire S series. That's the S1H, S1, S1R, and S5, as well as an update for the BGH1. We're going to go through just what's new, cover what's in there. It's not a whole lot, but there's some really significant things. And there's a couple of them that might be a little bit confusing as to what they are, so I'll go through that. And then at the end, we will go ahead and open this up to Q&A and ask anything you want about this update. Let's try and keep it limited to this update, please, for the benefit of those watching afterwards. I do want to get a quick shout out, make sure that everybody is seeing and hearing me okay. As always, we're changing things with the live stream, and it looks like we're good. People are saying it's good. Get a little confirmation on that, and then we're going to roll right into this. This is one of those. My car broke down this morning, threw the whole day off. So, that's always super, super fun. Quick little check that everything is good in the chat. I just want one person to say we're good to go, and then I know we're good, and we will go, and we will go, and we will. I'm just going to assume that we're good until someone says otherwise, like I can't hear a word that you're saying. All right. Let's just go into it. So let me get up my screen here. Here's how I'm going to do this. I have on my website at photojoseph.com. In fact, if you wanted to go there yourself, if you headed over to photojoseph.com, you would see a logo that looks like this, LUMIX S1H, blah, 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 updates. Open this up and it has the entire press release, which I have cleaned up nicely because the press release is always a little bit messy. And that's all here if you want to go back to it. Here's the release schedule. The S1H update version 2.4 is coming out March 31st. So just what is that, the end of next week or so? And then the S1, S1R, and S5 updates all follow on April 6th. So not that much farther later. My gosh, I can't believe it's already almost April. And then actually a little bit sooner, March 24th. Wait, is that already? No, in 5 days we have the BGH1 updates. So here's what we've got. One of the most significant ones is for the S1H. This is adding B RAW, that is Blackmagic RAW. So the S1H already shoots RAW for ProRes. Actually, technically it outputs RAW over the HDMI port, and then the Atomos Ninja 5 can record in ProRes RAW. Now with this update, you'll be able to output RAW to a Blackmagic recorder to record in Blackmagic RAW or B RAW. This of course requires editing inside of DaVinci Resolve. So for those of you who are Resolve users and have been lamenting, why did the Final Cut users get ProRes RAW and I didn't get B RAW? Well, now you're getting B RAW. So that in itself is a really, really significant update. That's probably the biggest one of the whole batch. So if you're an S1H user, this is going to be huge for you. All right, you can see here the frame rates that you'll be able to shoot at, or frame sizes and frame rates, 5.9K RAW, so very, very similar, actually, I guess identical to the ProRes RAW. I shouldn't say identical, I haven't compared, but very similar at least. So 5.9K RAW, 2997, 25, and 2398, and that's a 16:9 aspect ratio. And then you have your Super 35 aspect ratio, Super 35 size at 4K, 17:9, and a Super 35 anamorphic 3.5K at a variety of frame rates. And of course, that's a 4:3 aspect ratio designed to be stretched out. With these, you can naturally load up your LUTs, your V-Log or V709 view in the live view monitor, which means that when you're shooting RAW, you can have a view on your screen that is essentially you can choose to look at it in log or look at it in Rec 709 standard. Up to you. If you connect it to an external monitor, which you would technically have to do the recording, and you're viewing on there, then you can do other things with it, like view it in a PQ mode, which would allow you to see it in an HDR-like view, which is pretty fantastic. That's one of the fun things about shooting with ProRes RAW is you can see on a Ninja in PQ mode, perceptual quantization mode, and you can see it in full HDR, and it's kind of awesome. So that's cool. All right. Let's see here. There's a couple other things in here that we'll talk about more later. Actually, we'll just cover all these now. So there's this camera orientation feature. This is a toggle. You're going to find this in all of these updates. Essentially, this means it's adding a flag to the file to tell the file that you shot vertically. So if you are shooting vertical video, you can tell the camera to put that vertical video flag into the file or not to. This allows you to, if you're shooting vertical, to edit vertical, to output in vertical. It just means that once you get it into post, you don't have to rotate the file. It will just be vertical. Or if you're shooting vertical, but you actually want it horizontal, then you flip the flag and it goes the other way around. So just one of those little small convenience factors in there. The next one, this power save mode is very curious. And I'm going to tell you about this because for a very, this is one of those things that was added for a very small select set of users, but a very important set of users. And if you fall into that set, but you don't realize it, then this actually could be inconvenient to you. So here's the deal. All of the S series cameras can be powered by USB-C, right? Which is awesome. Instead of AC power through a dummy battery, you just go USB-C and off you go. And in that case, this doesn't affect you at all. For the very small group of users who actually use a dummy AC battery in an S series camera, instead of powering it over USB-C, you now have the ability to tell the camera to go to sleep. See, the way that it has always been, and is if you grab like a GH5 and you do this, you plug in a dummy battery, an AC, replaces the battery, you know what I mean, and plug it into the wall, plug into the battery compartment. And this can be a Panasonic official one or a third-party one, doesn't matter. The camera knows that it's on AC power. And so it says, oh, I don't ever have to go to sleep. Great. So that's the way it's designed. This now allows you to tell it to go to sleep anyway. It's a very specific use case who wants this feature, and it is now there for them. The problem is if you don't realize that that's there and you are using a dummy battery, which would be unlikely. I mean, the vast majority of people who are going to be shooting with this camera with power are going to be using USB-C. But if you are shooting with one of these cameras and you are using a dummy battery, be aware that there is a new power setting that you will want to verify how it's set, because I don't know how it's set by default because I don't have a dummy battery to plug in to check it. But it's entirely possible, feasible, let's hope not, possible that when you plug it in the first time, it's going to say, oh, let's go to the new mode and allow it to go to sleep, in which case it could go to sleep when you don't expect it to. Again, very small number of people this will likely affect, but just putting it out there, if you are one of those people, if you have a dummy battery for an S-series camera, once you install this update, make sure you check your economy settings. They're called the economy settings. So there you want to do that. Okay, moving on. For the S1 specifically, this is a very nice upgrade for the S1. You're getting 6K, 5.9K, and 5.4K recording. That is fantastic. So you now have a higher resolution recording capability, or will have that with that camera, with the S1. So just to point out, just to remind people, the S1 was the first full-frame LUMIX camera to come out. It's been a year and a half now-ish, something like that. Maybe even longer. I think about a year and a half. And now you get 6K on there. I mean, come on. That's kind of cool. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. That camera also gets, oh, right, it also gets RAW. It also gets RAW over HDMI. Now, this one is not getting B-RAW. This is specifically for ProRes, but it is also getting RAW to ProRes. So absolutely fantastic there. It also gets dual native ISO. Very, very nice. And it gets the orientation feature and that power save feature that we already talked about. So again, some really, really nice upgrades, really nice features added to the original full-frame LUMIX camera. Gotta love that. I always like to point out at times like this is one of the great values. Yes, I'm a LUMIX ambassador. Yes, I get it. But this is one of the great values of LUMIX cameras. I mean, almost a 2-year-old, year and a half-year-old camera, whatever it is, and you're getting some major added value to it today. You gotta love that. Okay. Moving on, the S1R and the S5, these aren't adding any major features. It gets both the vertical orientation feature and that power save feature. So again, if you fall into this very small power save user category, make sure you check that setting. The vertical thing is added, otherwise that's it. So not really much added to the S1R or the S5. And then the BGH1. So the BGH1 is the new box camera. This is the newest camera in the lineup. It is a micro four thirds camera. So for all of you who are like, micro four thirds is going away, it's not. Look, see, BGH1 just came out not that long ago. This is a great new feature added to that camera. The BGH1 now has, or will have, IP streaming built into it. So you can stream from the camera to any destination, RTP or RTSP protocol, in 4K or HD at a variety of frame rates, resolutions, and codecs, even in H.265. This is pretty awesome. So if you want to stream directly from the camera, so that means you don't need to plug it into any kind of encoding, hardware encoder. You don't need a separate computer. You just need a connection, a separate computer to do the encoding. You just need the internet connection, and off it goes. So gotta love that IP streaming built directly into the camera. I haven't used it yet, so I don't have any experience with how it all works. I actually do have that version installed on this camera. This is a BH1 right now, BGH1. I haven't used it yet, but it's in there. But if you're not doing any switching, if you just need that stream, pretty cool. I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think one of the ideas is that you could be streaming from set while shooting. So a remote director could be watching the stream as you're shooting. Don't quote me on that, but I kind of think that's one of the potential use cases for it. In addition to normal live streaming scenarios. Pretty slick, pretty slick. It has another really nice feature. Oh, look, RAW. RAW video over HDMI, that is to ProRes RAW. So let's think about that for a moment. This is the first Micro Four Thirds Lumix camera to do RAW output. That's cool. Gotta love that. All right, what else we got? So the options on there, 4K or 3.7K is again 17.9, or the 3.7 is a Micro Four Thirds. Micro Four Thirds anamorphic for 4:3 aspect ratio, meant to be stretched out. And of course, as you would expect, you can view it in Rec 709 on the live view monitor while you're outputting RAW. Then you get the other shooting assist functions like the spot metering, the zebra patterns, and so on, which can all be used during the RAW output. Let's see here. Anything else? Oh, Genlock. So Genlock is already built into the BGH1. This is just something about the display showing you have Genlock as opposed to just knowing. It actually gives you a display. You can reformat the memory card from the software, from the tethering software, which is, that's something I'm going to do a video on pretty soon. In fact, it might be the live show that I do next week. I'll show off the BGH1 and its software, because again, that's what this is right now. The fact that you can control the camera entirely over software is so cool. The more I use this camera, the more I want these everywhere in my studio. Like every camera I look, I go, ooh, let's replace that one with the BGH1. I want that one's a B. It's awesome. It is so cool to be able to do that from the computer. So anyway, so now you have a little bit more control in the software. So you can do that. Camera orientation feature, that's in there as well. And then Lumix Tether for Multicam, that's the software that you use to control the BGH1, just giving you some additional controls to control that IP streaming, of course, kind of important. The raw control streaming and so on, and just some basic other little controls added to that. So there you go. That is effectively the roundup update. So some pretty big ones, you know, the B raw, very nice. Getting raw on the S1H, getting raw on the BGH1, gotta love that. And the whole vertical orientation feature, if you are shooting that way, it just saves you a step in post, which is of course kind of nice. It also means if you were, I can't imagine why you would, but if you were to shoot vertical video and not want it to be oriented because you're gonna plug it into a TV that is mounted vertically, you know, you have control. That's all. You got the control. Okay, let's jump into the questions. See if there's anything. Again, please do limit the questions specifically to this release of updates. I'll be live again early next week, and we can answer any little question you want, but I do want to keep these specific. So let's see if I kind of forgot to set this part up before we went live, so hopefully this is all set up properly. Let us make sure. Yeah, it's working good. So Jazz, let's ask that question in my next live show, please. Hello, hello. Everybody's saying we're good to go. Excellent, excellent, good. Super bummer the S1's not getting B-RAW. I don't know what to tell you. I get it, but look at it this way. You didn't buy the S1 because it had RAW. So there's always that. Let's see here. How does the S1 compare to the S5 with the new updates? Ooh, S1 versus S5. Ooh, that's interesting, right? Because they both get the RAW, they both get the 6K. You know, that's really interesting. Feature-wise, I'd have to look really closely because I think they're very, very close to feature parity at this point. The S5 is obviously a smaller camera, which is great, if you're into that sort of thing. I'm trying to think what offhand the S1 with these updates would have that the S5 does not. There might not be anything. Huh. There's got to be something. There's probably something. It has to be something small, but I don't know offhand. Excellent question. Do me a favor. Once this show is over, either on this one or on any other show, drop that question as a comment and let me think about that a little bit. That's a really good question. A really good question. Can I do a video on how this IP streaming works? I most certainly can. I will have to play with it and see. So what I have is obviously a beta version of the software firmware since it's not shipping yet. I'll have to see how well it works and see if it's okay to show it yet or if that's something I need to wait until it's actually released. Like I said, I haven't even used it myself. I know it's here. I installed it. I know it's there, but that's about all I can tell you. That's about all I can tell you. Oops, where'd this see? Can you copy the files over the network yet? I'm assuming you're talking about the BGH1. No, this is a common request. You think you missed the S5 segment, head over to my website, PhotoJoseph.com, and it's the top link right now, you'll see, and the S5 is there. There's not much. Well, I'll just recap it for you because there's not much. Where were we? Was it under 2? Nope, 3. Yeah, here we go. 3 for the S5. It's minor updates, vertical orientation, and the power save update, which for the power save thing, if you didn't hear that because you weren't here in the beginning, you'll want to go back to the beginning and listen to that where I explain how that is. Very unlikely it is affecting you, but it is good to know if it's something that you need. Let's see here. What about G9? Will be nice if any updates with raw pace possibilities. I would not expect that on a camera that is that old. Right? By modern standards, it's pretty old. So I would not expect that to happen. Still no better MOV options on the S1R. I don't know what you mean by better, but let me go back to the S1R specifics. And let's see here. That was S1H, S1, and S5. Wait, where's the S1R? Oh, it's here. Oh, right. So the S1R and S5 are the ones that got the very minor updates. What are you looking for specifically, Mark? Tell me what you're looking for. I don't know. One thing that I think is important to have expectations when you're thinking about the S1R versus the S1 or any of the other S-series cameras. That is a completely different sensor, right? It is a much higher resolution sensor. That camera was designed as a still photography camera first. It had that super high resolution, was it 50 odd megapixel sensor? Any video is clearly a major downsampling. And I think that's an important thing to consider. Downsampling from the full frame, from the 50 megapixel full frame down to a 4K signal is a lot of processing power. And the camera can do that, right? It can do 4K recording, but that requires a lot. So to ask it to do more on top of that may not happen. I'm not saying it won't, certainly not saying anything will. I'm just saying don't have a whole lot of expectations there to get more video performance out of the S1R. It's a massive amount of processing power required to do what it already does because of the original resolution of that sensor. So just remember, that is a camera that was designed still photography first. That is one that was designed for that super high res still. If you were buying it as a video camera, then the S1 probably would have been a better option. So just things to consider, things to remember. Okay, let's see here. What else we got? What about the S5? I ran over the S5 update. There's just not a whole lot there to it. They're talking about different features in there. BGH1 shows up on the network, but you can't see the files on the server cards. Correct. Does the new firmware now allow you to see those files and copy them, etc.? It does not. Again, somebody else asked that. It is a common feature request. It is not currently there. Is the box camera outputting different res than SDI and HDMI? Yes. The HDMI output can output any of the resolutions. The SDI is only 1080p. So that is, yeah, so the SDI only outputs 1080p. In fact, that's how I'm using this camera right now, because this is a BGH1. It's kind of a convoluted setup. What a surprise. The camera's set to 4K. In fact, let me make sure that I have it on, I believe, let me check something. I'm pretty sure it is currently set. Yeah, so my camera is currently set to 4K log, not raw, but 4K log. Over the SDI, it is outputting 1080p with a LUT, and this is a custom LUT that's applied to this file right now, to the output. So this is a LUTted log output downscaled from 4K to 1080p. So the SDI out in 1080p, it's then going through a SDI to HDMI converter and then into the ATEM Mini Pro that's on my desk. Meanwhile, the HDMI signal is carrying the 4K unlutted log. So the native log, again, not raw, I'm not using raw here, but the native log, no LUT applied, 4K full resolution signal over HDMI. That HDMI signal is going into my Mac Pro. I've got one of those Blackmagic HDMI, Blackmagic 4-banger HDMI inputs. So that camera is plugged directly into the Mac Pro. So I can capture video from this camera in 4K log simultaneously while streaming 1080p LUTted. It's kind of cool. Anyway, just how I've got this thing set up. So there's that. I told you, man, the BGH1's an awesome camera. I want these everywhere. Okay. Okay, that is a question not about this update, so we'll pass on that for now. Again, if you have questions that aren't related to the update, please hold them for the next main live show. I just want to keep this related to these updates. Alrighty, let's see here. That is addressing somebody else's question. Still wish the S1 had luminance spot meter. It's a great feature. And the ability to set field of views or extended teleconverter to a function button. Still super excited about the S1 update. There's always more stuff that you want. All right. S1R is very limited with MOV format, just MP4. Right. Okay. You know, interesting question. I'm not sure how much of a difference there is. And maybe it's something I just need to educate myself on. I never really quite grokked the difference between the MP4 and the MOV. It seems like to me it's the same bit rates, same codecs. It's just a different wrapper, which I don't think matters. But maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. You know, always like to know. All right. Oh, maybe this is the answer right here. MOV comes in 5K only, still no 4K MOV 10-bit. But again, does it matter? Does MP4 what do you not get from MP4? What do you not get? It's up to something I can almost smell a new product. Well, they're up to this. You smell a new update, and that update is out. All right. That is the last question that's up right now. I wanted to keep this short and brief, so we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. Awesome to see you, as always, for this little impromptu show. If you are not yet subscribed to this new PhotoJoseph Live channel, make sure you do that right now, because this is a whole new channel. If for some reason you're watching this on the original channel with a big text overlay saying, don't watch this here, get out of there. You're supposed to be over here on the PhotoJoseph Live channel, and make sure you subscribe to PhotoJoseph Live. Brand new channel, doing all my live shows here from now on. So yeah. Don't miss out. Subscribe, hit the bell, blah, blah, blah. You know how it works. Hit the like button too. That's always helpful. That's it. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.